Welcome to the Political Insider, where things are getting very, 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 very interesting. Before we get into our story today, subscribe to this channel. We want to continue growing. We're going to do more in-depth coverage, and we just want to give you more. Subscribe to it so that you can watch these things and ring the bell so that you can get notifications. And while I'm talking, just remember our one-day State of the Nation Summit happening on the 13th of November. We will have Prince Mashele, we will have Dawie Rood, we will have Frans Cronje, Mandisa Mashego, many other great speakers. Reset South Africa. We're going to give you solutions to where we are in this country. Come and join us. Information in the description below. South Africa is getting very, very interesting, and we understand that the politicians are trying desperately to derail the Madlanga Commission. But already what has come out of that Madlanga Commission is creating drama that you could never make, even if you did a TV soap opera. The rats are deserting this sinking ship called the ANC. Now, we have to understand what happened. Let me just run through what's happened in the last couple of days. One is that Fikile Mbalula does a press conference, and in true Fikile Mbalula style, bombastic. He throws out a few long words. He says it's everybody else. It's the one bad apple kind of thing. It's not the party, it's one person. And in his speech, where, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth, he says that Brown Magotsi is not a member of the ANC, even though he claims to be. So what happens? Brown Magotsi does his own interview on SABC, which he says, to hell with Fikile Mbalula, I am a member in good standing, go and check, I'm a member. And then, if that's not enough, he starts jabbering on about other corruption that we've even forgotten about because there's been so much about it. Some of that corruption includes Fikile Mbalula's wife in a housing scandal in the Free State. And he gives details of that housing scandal. He mentions the murder of one very suspect taxi operator, Wandile Bazwana, who was killed in 2015, 10 years ago. He met his end in his car. That sort of sounds quite nice, but in actual fact, the guy pulled up to a traffic light and got shot 9 times. Needless to say, our police did nothing about it. The guy was up to his eyeballs in corruption. Same thing we're seeing at the Madlanga Commission. Syndicates everywhere, crime syndicates, and all of them link back to their political partners in the ANC that would ensure that the police don't investigate, which means that nobody stands in front of a judge, which means that money gets looted from the state and old people end up dying and kids end up drowning in pit latrines because that money should be spent on those public services. But in the past, if one goes back to 2015, the ANC were able to hide this stuff because of their parliamentary majority. They could say, should we have an inquiry? All those in favor say, and 3 people put up their hand from, the opposition parties, and all those who think no, and the ANC all vote no, and nothing would happen to people there. And compromised politicians, people like Fikile Mbalula, who still has a question to answer about holidays that he took his family on. They were paid for with questionable money, but not himself, while he was a Minister of Sport. He carries on to a glittering career where he becomes Secretary General of the ANC after messing up a couple of ministries that he was involved in. So, this thing is getting very, very interesting. Now, what is happening today, the 7th of October, is that the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee into the allegations made by Lieutenant General Madlanga Commission starts operating today. Now, what is this Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee? Basically, Parliament stunned into action because, we've got pictures of them sleeping in Parliament, but nowadays it's hard to sleep in Parliament because the majority of parliamentarians aren't from one party, which means that somebody's going to be awake. And soon enough, they said, if this guy Mkonazi is making these startling allegations, we need, as Parliament, to do something after years of Parliament doing nothing. And they set up an ad hoc committee. But somehow, because the ANC still have the biggest representation in Parliament, they end up with the guy running the ad hoc committee. So you've got the ANC in charge of investigating the ANC. This invariably shouldn't work out well. It doesn't help when the guy's name is Soviet Lechemiani. You can understand what his political inclination is. He tried his best to not get this commission started, aided and abetted by Julius Malema, that seemed to do everything in his power to not get this commission going. Basically objecting to this placing of a comma in a document. They're kind of stupid stuff. But in any case, there were enough people out there that recognized that they better have this commission, it better go ahead, or else there's going to be a lynching. The point is that this commission starts today. Now, it's going to be parallel commission to the Madlanga Commission. And we're going to hear the same stuff from pretty much the same people. They're going to sit in front of the members of this parliamentary group, and they're going to tell the same story that they've just told. What is the difference? Well, the difference here is the following. Let's just say, for all intents and purposes, the identical information comes out in Madlanga Commission as what comes out in Parliament. What happens then? The Madlanga Commission, like the 1,738 other commissions that the ANC have called for, ends up in a document presented at a press conference with the commissioner and the president shaking hands as he hands over the finding of the commission, only for the president to put it in one big file, usually numbered 13, and nothing happens. But the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, their findings will now be presented to Parliament and be voted on as to whether to do something. Now, the ANC doesn't have the numbers to squash something. If there's adverse findings, like, say, for example, the Zondo Commission, if the question put in front of Parliament is, do we prosecute as per the Zondo Commission? And if that had to be voted, well, if that happened today, everybody would vote. Not everybody. 60% of Parliament, i.e. the people not in the ANC, would vote for proceedings to go to a court of law. This, in other words, means that it's highly unlikely that the old tried and tested method of no repercussions would have to be revisited. It's not the only thing happening in Parliament today. There's another hearing that starts today, and that's SCOPA. That is the Special Committee on Public Accounts, basically the sort of head prefect of finance within Parliament, headed up by Songezo Zibi from Rise and Mzansi. They start their hearings into the ongoing years of looting and maladministration inside the Road Accident Fund. The last time the Road Accident Fund got a clean audit was 2018, 2019. It has been years and years of looting. And a lot of it is thanks to a deployed ANC cadre, Collins Letswalo, who finally got fired after many years of running the Road Accident Fund into the ground and got paid in his last year 9.4 million rand as a salary. And he basically everything that you can do wrong as someone heading up a public entity, he did it. And we've had years of successive transport ministers, including Fikile Mbalula and now Barbara Creasy, looking the other way as money gets stolen, your and my tax money. What is the Road Accident Fund meant to do? It's meant to provide money for people that are hurt in car accidents. But up until now, transport ministers have done nothing about it. It's in their portfolio. They just look the other way and, let this thing get looted. Well, Songezo Zibi has managed to get this hearing going. It starts today. They're onto something quite clearly. And how do we know that? Because Songezo Zibi has already been threatened. He's had to get extra security. people are after him because this is one particular door that nobody wants to open, because the Road Accident Fund has been open season. It's been looting central for ANC and its mates. So we've got a lot to watch out of Parliament today. I think it's starting to become a difficult time to be a crook, because soon enough there's going to be a commission or something that goes after you. There's enough opposition in Parliament to actually do something now when these allegations surface of maladministration or theft. We will keep you up to date as to what goes on in those two hearings in Parliament, but it's fascinating, and we're going to see more interesting press releases from people that get named in these various commissions. I can't wait. Bring popcorn, because this is going to get exciting. Thank you so much for joining me on the Political Insider. We'll come back to you with those updates. Thank you.